What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. And today I want to pick up on the topic that I was discussing yesterday, but I want to approach it from a different perspective. So, yesterday I was talking about market fatigue and how worn out and tired I am of having to track the value of games and hunting based off value and figuring out, oh, am I going to have to sell this to afford that? Things of that nature. Just the constant price tracking, the deal hunting, uh, and especially the FOMO that comes with building a collection. That's the biggest thing. But right now, in this video, the thing I really want to focus on the most is just being sick of the hunt. Now, sick might be a bit of a strong word, but certainly I'm at a period here where I'm just not super interested in hunting for games. I mean, when there's a local swap, I'm always going to go. I'm always going to have a look. I've made a lot of friends there, so I'm going to go hang out and see the guys. But at the same time, I'm not leaving with very much. I'm certainly not leaving with as much as my peers, and I'm not leaving with as much as I used to. And for the last year or so, honestly longer, but especially for a year, I've really been focused on not buying and instead focusing on what I have. I find that so many people spend all their time hunting, trying to get the next deal, trying to get the next big game for their collection that gives them a few moments of joy and satisfaction that, yeah, I scored this, I finally got this, now it's added in the collection. But they don't necessarily ever get around to playing most of their stuff. And the truth is, with collections the size of some of my peers and even of my own in the past and of other people I know, there's not enough time in their life to get around to playing these games. I think a lot of us go into the hunt with this mindset of someday I will have the time to check all this stuff out. Someday I'll be able to play these. And the truth of the matter is, that's not necessarily true. You know, we're adults now and life calls us to do so many different things. There's so many things we have to be accountable for and around for. And so really, if you don't take the time to just slow down, take a break from all the hunting, all the acquisition, less focus on the acquisition, more focus on the appreciation for what you have and the enjoyment of what you have. Sit down and play the games. You know what I mean? If I've learned anything in this last, man, I said year, but honestly, it's been like 2 years of really focusing on the backlog and playing the games in my backlog and not acquiring too many new games. If I've learned anything in the last nearly 2 years, it's that as far as collecting goes, it's really a balance, man. You've really got to focus on what you've got. At least I think so. So what we're looking at here, I've described this in past videos, but this top shelf is all that's left of my physical PlayStation 4 collection. Now, I think for the average gamer, that's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of games. But for a collector, that's nothing, right? That's just really just scratching the surface for a lot of people's collections. Down here is my PS5 backlog, which I definitely would like to get back to because I never intended for it to get this large to begin with. So I'm certainly looking forward to diving back into that. But I have, especially for the last year, been really focused on the PS4 backlog, and it has decreased dramatically. And a big reason I want to do this, and a big reason I'm sick of the hunt, is this section right here. These are games that I've beaten already that I feel excitement, joy, maybe even somewhat anxiousness to get back to and play again, to relive these amazing games. Because at the end of the day, if you're collecting games just for the intent to play them once and then put them back on the shelf, then why are you going to keep the game? Isn't the intent that you might want to replay it again someday, or you're going to, or you'd like to revisit it? I am actually taking the time to make sure that happens instead of just accumulating and accumulating and accumulating. And so being sick of the hunt is a huge part of it, as well as just recognizing, you know, I'm looking around here and I've got a ton of games and they're just not getting played. And so it leaves me in this position now where it's time to take some action, right? And so I started this YouTube channel. I'd been doing it on Instagram for a while, where I had a little bit I would do on there called Quest of the Backlog. And I would allow community polls and people to vote and decide what I was going to play next. Now, back then, my physical library was a lot larger than it was now. This is prior to me really starting to sink my teeth into modding and things of that nature. Now, I certainly am from the perspective of, If I can mod it, I don't need it. As long as I can run it natively and in a way that I enjoy. And so maybe natively is not always a requirement, but for some of the systems that I like to play on, it certainly is. And so in the future, I'll share how I go about doing that. But for now, I'm primarily focused on what I still own physically. Because from what I understand, I could technically do a PS4 mod. I could, but I am gaming on my PS5 and I'm loving the PS5. So I am still enjoying the hunt for PS4 media, especially because it's never been cheaper. And so if we come over this way and look at this shelf here, what you're seeing on top are all the games that I have beaten in the library that aren't set aside to replay and are beaten. These ones are done with. And as you can see, there is a lot of PS5 games in here. A lot. So maybe, I think it's like up to here is what I still need to play over there. So I'm through, I got maybe a third of the collection left, let's say. You know, really my wall of shame is my VR collection. My VR collection is massive. It is a ton of games. And I do have a modded PS3. These are just titles that don't fit on the hard drive for now. I'll be acquiring a second PS3 pretty soon here, and I'll be putting them onto there. But for the time being, I do have those. But the other thing about VR, though, is most of the games are incredibly short. So I think once I really get into it and I commit myself to some time on that VR headset, I'm going to plow through a ton of these games. And I am looking forward to that. Now, I don't want it to come across like I'm saying in any way that, oh, my approach is the best approach and my approach is the one that everyone should be doing and your approach is wrong if you're just collecting for the sake of collecting. That's not necessarily what I'm saying. I am just trying to shine light on, though, and make a point of play the games, man. Play the games. Play the older games that you've had in the collection for a while. Replay the games that you love. Make time for it if you're not. Find the time. Don't just keep accumulating. Don't keep accumulating, man. I've been down that road. I used to have a collection that was 2,000 games strong. And the truth of the matter was I was spending my free time hunting more than I was gaming. And I still got my gaming in, but there was just no way to keep up with it. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. But I think for me, in this day and age, at the age of, the ripe age of 38, I get a lot out of keeping it curated, concise, simple, and just maybe for me, it's just a stimulation thing, man. I like to look at the shelf and not see, a ton of systems and a ton of consoles. That can be nice and that can be fun, but you're just kind of staring at a wall of things you're not going to ever have the time to play. And so I find it better to consolidate and get things all in one spot, like I said, with a mod or something of that nature, and to just kind of then focus on what I have left that's still physically in front of me. And part of this experience, too, is to play through these games and see what really deserves a spot to be kept. When I was over there looking at those games, those are what I want to keep. I have gone through here and have finished games or have chosen to walk away from them. And those games are now on the cutting block. They're getting sold. They're not going to stay in the collection because it's over for them, And I wouldn't have ever really found that if I was just accumulating and accumulating and collecting and not making time to play them. So this is more so to say, sick of the hunt might be a strong word. I still enjoy going out and hunting a little bit, but I'll tell you what, I am definitely enjoying not picking up any and every single thing that slightly interests me, not picking up every single game that's a good deal, being more selective and ensuring that I'm not continuously overwhelming my selection with too much intake and that I'm giving myself the opportunity of time to play this backlog. I just think I'd love to hear more about that. I talk to collectors and it's always about what's the most recent thing they found or what's the most recent deal they got. I'm very rarely hearing about what is it that they're playing. And when they are playing something, it's it's like the newest release of something. It's never, I dug into my PS3 collection and I pulled out Dark Sector and I started playing that. And if it is, I picked up Dark Sector the other day and now I'm checking it out, which sure, that's cool. That's fine. Again, I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with it, but I am saying on this other side here, where you're not constantly on the hunt, you're not constantly prowling for deals, and you're not just so focused on the market and you're not so worried about FOMO. It's chill, man, and it's really nice. It's really nice to be able to watch a backlog dwindle down, to really figure out what your favorites are, and then to revisit those favorites. So That's all I got to say in regards to all of that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the last one. If you didn't, be sure to check that out. I go into a bit more of just being my thoughts around, tracking prices and everything that involved in that, and how that affects ultimately enjoying your collection that you're building and digging into this backlog and watching the progress happen with that. And that's just something I hold near and dear, watching this backlog catch up to my purchases. There's a YouTuber called VG Closet, and one of the things he prides himself on is little to no games in his collection have not been played or beaten. And I'm striving for that, man. I think that's a really cool place to be. I envy that, and I'm trying to get there myself too. So shout out to VG Closet for further inspiration to be on this journey that I'm on now. Appreciate you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. See you guys next time.